first, a word from our friends over at FanDuel as the weather gets colder. NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook, and right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. And the app is simple to use. You can bet on anything under the sun, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS, an official partner of the NFL, FanDuel, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And before we bring Bernie on, we want to give a shout-out to Kevin Hoyt of the Southern California Browns Backers Club for hosting Bernie in L.A. this week. So, Bernie, welcome, and shout-out Kevin Hoyt for being a good Browns fan and welcoming Bernie to the party on Sunday.
Welcome, Burns.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you.
I watched something on NFL Films, and they talked about.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Did you see it was on NFL Films?
Like the ugly duckling.
Yeah, and they talked about how like your last drive in Cleveland, and how you went through. You went to Dallas, and you got there in like 5 minutes. And the guy was talking. I think it might have been Steve Sable. He was talking about how much of a savant you were in picking up a playbook. And you had to pick the playbook up in like a day, and you studied for like 24 hours straight. So I think it's a great segue. You know, Joe Flacco might be playing this week. How the heck does a veteran quarterback learn a whole new system and call audibles in like 24 hours?
Thank you for the great memories, bringing back a great kind of game down in Dallas like that. And coming in here on the set, thinking about what's happening with the Browns in a winter snowstorm like this, knowing that we're going to be out in L.A. Playing on Sunday afternoon. As a man who just turned 60, Joe Flacco is a man who's 38 years old. The weather is our enemy at this time of the year and stuff. So if you're going to have your first start and you're going to be playing, as much as I love Northeastern Ohio and I love the conditions, this isn't the conditions for somebody of age right now and who hasn't played a lot in the so far this season. So all again, not optimal, probably playing out there, but really you want a Big G really kind of condense down and simplify it. Almost like what I think we're going to talk about what we probably should have done against Denver at the beginning of the game in terms of not trying to spread them out, taking advantage of the running game, being super smart with the running game, and then a concise amount of pass plays, knowing that you have an awesome defense and good special teams, and you don't want to make mistakes. When I went down to Dallas, I knew I had Emmitt Smith. I knew I had a great running game, had an awesome offensive line, outstanding defense. Look at our offensive line and our tackles was a big concern last week going into the game. Man, did we run block fantastic. So, you know, we're showing that we have a good running game. We have the running backs. Ford's play good with the defense. So simplify the game plan and let's run the ball.
There it is.
So with a veteran, obviously you could install more with a veteran like Flacco. You had to learn new playbooks and new terminology and all of that. Flacco's been with the team for a week. What percentage of the playbook do you think he'll be able to grasp and will be open to him?
Well, because
50%?
I actually think more than that.
Really?
Yeah, because again, I did it in a couple days. Now he's got a couple weeks, and this may be a shameless little shout out, but there's a statistic where I think it's myself, Dan Marino, and Joe Flacco are the only, I think, 3 quarterbacks to go to the playoffs their first 5 years in the league.
Wow, is that?
It seems like
That's
forever.
incredible.
It seems like forever ago, Joe Flacco was a rookie. But that was 18 years ago. I still, to a 60-year-old, he's still a young man to me, but by football standards, that's an older man. He's seen every type of offense. I really believe from a mental standpoint, he'll cognitively be really solid with it. It's how do you kind of put it together in the heat of battle really quick. And again, I think because we're a team that likes to use multiple tight ends and we've been using 12 and 13 personnel, that it lends itself a little more towards having extra guys in to protect. And a veteran quarterback, I think, could understand and learn better and manipulate a new system with extra protectors in there. And that's what Coach Stefanski does with those extra tight ends.
Bernie, we were talking, we all said before that if DTR clears protocol, we'd still play him. Mary Kay said, and she makes a good point, he took such a hard hit that she would just sit him this week anyway. What's your thoughts on that, and what's your thoughts on how DTR has played so far?
So I know the game didn't turn out the way we wanted. Offensively, you look statistically, it doesn't look like he played that good. I actually enjoyed the way he played. I know it was tough out there. I think we put him in some tough spots. I'm a big fan of our coaching staff. It's unbelievable with all the duress, all the injuries, that really we're still here at 7-4
I agree.
and decently solid in a playoff spot.
We're on our fourth quarterback.
Yeah, so it's easy to have hindsight on stuff, but if you had to do it again, I think DTR really played pretty solid in the Denver game. For me, who's been physically and mentally scarred from my trips out to Denver. Okay, I know that's not the easiest place to play. Crowd noise is a mess, so I understand our tackles having trouble with the pass rush and stuff. That won't be as bad in LA this week. That crowd isn't as loud as Denver. But man, I actually think he handled himself super well. But I did not hear the Mary Kay segment, but I would concur with her. And again, this is the pros. He's a tough kid. I'm sure he wants to play. Sometimes I think I've used the phrase, we got to be protected from ourselves. Even if he clears protocols, there's the physical kind of beating he took and the mental kind of, I have you matter. We talk about self-confidence and self-esteem. I love how DTR handles himself in those press conferences, but you can't possibly have all the self-confidence and self-esteem that you really have or you want to be an NFL quarterback after those couple games and some of those hits he's taken.
Yeah, Bernie, he's been, not him, but his receivers are struggling to hold on to the ball. As a quarterback, if you zip it, do you think he should take some off, or do you think his guys got to figure out how to catch his pass?
So I'm biased as a quarterback guy, okay? So in a crowd and in the public and in a private meeting room, I absolutely 100% believe you need to figure it out. You need to figure out how to catch it. It's the pros. Now, between you and me on the side, absolutely, you need to work on your touch. You need to absolutely kind of balance it. His arm strength's unbelievable. And in pressure, I get in between the numbers, trying to throw it and overthrow it and stuff. But boy, that arm talent that he has on a couple of those blitzes, he hit an out route off his back foot, throwing backwards. Cool. So, for the arm talent that it takes to do that and to throw that on time like that, it's pretty special. So, with his confidence, with, again, the you matter, the self-esteem, the belief in himself, I think he'll have more belief to take a little touch and to throw with not as much velocity. But when you're young and you're not exactly mentally clear as to what to do, and you're not sure if that robber guy in man coverage or that zone guy is reading your eyes, that you tend to sometimes maybe overthrow.
How long did it take you to realize that there were gears? There was, some balls have to be thrown over a defender. Because it almost looks like, to me, that's a rookie that knows he has a cannon and says, by God, I'm going to use it.
Jay, that's a great question. I want to sit here and I want to say in my rookie year, I got it. Halfway through the year, I got it, and I was cool at doing that because Father Time, it's going to be hard pressed for any of you to go back and challenge me. But the truthful answer is it wasn't at all my rookie year. And I still remember playing at the end of the season in December, doing some of these things that I think DTR was trying to do, trying to throw it through a guy's heart, okay, because I didn't want the backer or the safety to cut in front of it, so I threw it massive sauce on the ball. Yeah. Truthfully, almost like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember 1986, we lost to Green Bay, like week 5 of my second year, and it wasn't until literally halfway through my second year that it kind of crystallized to me in terms of slowing down, slow motion, in terms of reading defenses, and the ability to use touch with the ball. So it takes a little bit of time. And
Yeah.
How did you get over, when you get a rookie quarterback and they're new, the game is moving fast, people are coming at them. How did you get out of predetermining where you were gonna go? How did you get to a point where you was like, I got to go through the progressions?
Yeah, great. That's a really great point. So that's the NFL and the speed of the guys. They want you to kind of get predetermined, to think you got something, to think it's going to be easy, and then get you to change midstream and stuff. So I'm super versed, and I'm so blessed. Coach Snellenberger, who's upstairs looking down upon me, and what he foundationally taught me is a college quarterback really transitioned to the pros. So many young guys don't have that type of tutelage, that type of foundational knowledge. So in turn, they really struggle with it. DTR, he had almost 50 starts in college. That actually, I think, really helped kind of his transition, not make that as long.
Bernie, shoulder has been a huge theme this year with Deshaun Watson. Now your two best defensive players are dealing with shoulder injuries. Denzel Ward obviously missed the game this past week, and Myles Garrett couldn't even lift his shoulder. They said no structural damage, but we know the Browns' messaging on these injuries hasn't been great. How concerned are you about both Ward and Myles for the rest of the season?
Wow, this isn't a setup for sales. I'm sitting here with my spray relief that I spray on my elbow and shoulder and stuff to get through it, not because Myles Garrett and Denzel were playing football and stuff. I was signing autographs this weekend, and there's still cramps from not taking care of it when I was younger and stuff.
You're really famous.
With it. No, but it still hurt. No, literally, that's how bad the elbow is today. I'm concerned for Denzel and for Myles and our playoff ramifications of that. Part of the dominance of this team and weathering a quarterback issue with 4 starting quarterbacks looking like this year is that dominant defense. And the shoulder issues, the way Myles has to rip and use his speed, playing at 80%, that's still Myles Garrett, but we need him really healthy. And there's a lot of, again, it'll sound like I'm trying to talk about this from a plug standpoint or a wellness, but there's really some stuff that you guys know that us players do on the side to get ourselves healthy that privately you need to do sometimes to stay in this game. Some of them aren't good for your long-term health. Now in this new age and stuff, there's some super healthy things that guys could do with IV therapy and stuff that you almost, and proteolytic enzymes that these guys really need to do to weather the storm, to make it. Because heck, what do we got? 7 more games and hopefully playoff games. There's a lot of football to be played, and those shoulders, in this cold weather, tend not to get better when you're banging, and these games are going to get more physical now.
Bernie, when you look at the Rams, what would be your game plan offensively for the Browns to attack, Aaron Donald and whoever they got over there?
So, again, I feel bad. I keep looking upstairs to Marty. I bless you, man, for tolerating me, for a guy who was an animal at wanting to throw the ball and attack those guys. For younger listeners and younger coaches out there, I don't overly recommend this, but in the old days, Aaron Donald would be whammed to death, with those double, triple tight ends, 13-2 personnel, power O's with Joe Patonio and Wyatt Teller pulling for sure, coming down on him, understanding my angles. And then you guys know the tricky things you could do with tight end motions and personnel groups. And you got your center and nose tackle right here, and you bring, Belichick starts out the Super Bowl with it. You bring your tight end in motion, you bring Nick Harris in motion at the fullback, and you just, again, you come down, you crack them. I mean, you have to do. You have to run the ball at them.
Were you surprised they didn't do more of that in Denver because it was working?
Yes. Yes, and that added to the issues for DTR, the tackles, and again Denver struggled at stopping the run. We were being successful with that. Again, we're talking about this week. The Rams are a little better. They are better at stopping the run. They got Aaron Donald. Look, you make the superstar thing. This is why I do health and wellness and healing now. The football Bernie is a lot more satanic, okay, than the healing Bernie right now. And you need to beat Aaron Donald and to handle that defensive line. You need to be the satanic guy that's coming down, double teaming, whamming, and you got to run right at him. You can't let him have one-on-ones and just pass rush up the field.
Yeah. You know, today, and Jay talks about this a little bit, and I think it's coming around. Like, everything under the sun, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, the systems, and it's cyclical. Sometimes you're throwing the ball and doing those things. But even go back to your time. The Buffalo Bills went to 4 Super Bowls, right? One of the greatest, the K-Gun offense. You look at what Warren Moon in Houston was doing, Jerry Glanville and a lot of those teams. You, like you said, in your heart, you wanted to throw the football because you're like, I feel like I could give us the best chance to win. As you were calling your own plays and dialing up plays where you getting your team involved, what made you stay conscious and true to the run game as well? And what motivated you to be like, okay, I can't throw the ball every single play? What kept you honest with the run game?
It's a great question. So Marty Schottenheimer used to say the phrase, great championship teams, if you need a yard, you could always get a yard. Championship teams, if they need a yard, you could always stop them from getting a yard. So I'm on the offensive side. So I full-fledged buy into that. That's my 11th commandment. If a championship team, every team I'm on, thou shall be able to run for a yard when thou wants to.
Think how important it is.
That is a gospel, a mindset that you and me and the other 10 guys in my huddle will live by all 365 days a year, 24/7, 365. You will absolutely think about it, talk about it. So when those half dozen times come up in the course of those 365 days, everybody in that huddle knows exactly what we're going to do. And there's a mindset and a manhood that comes with raising your testosterone level to do what Jason Kelce and the Philadelphia Eagles do at will. Okay?
Why don't other teams do it?
Because they don't have Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce,
But there's other great centers.
Yeah, but that's that combination of the Cleveland Heights wrestler, okay, that wrestling, his body leverage, his tough guy mentality, that cement cranium, okay, with his strength and leverage, okay, and that mindset, he is not going to be stopped.
He wins.
Okay, that is, as a quarterback, that's the mindset I had. And actually, as
you also had Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner.
well, Kevin Mack and Biner, and when you have guys like that who are tougher than you and really want it and believe it, you got to let the dogs eat. And in a violent game of football, again, I'm in my spiritual healing way, but in a violent game of football, you let the caveman satanic side of you come out, and that's how you do it and embrace it. We go back to the Aaron Donald. We all love Leroy Horde. He's on the show. I'm going to be flying out to L.A. tomorrow for the game. I was going to try to be on with him tomorrow. You ask about how to handle Aaron Donald, joke with Leroy, Kevin Mack. They know chip, check through. He would like in the old days, you can't do this, okay? But when you were engaged, when the lineman had the guy engaged, okay?
Cut block.
Well, cut block on the wham is the legs are going, okay? And then the ribs, okay, look at Coop broke his ribs probably in the game the other day by going up for a pass. So that's fair game. Leroy Horde would chip check through Aaron Donald's rib cage, okay, on his way to catching a pass. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound good. I don't really want to be saying this during holiday week.
It is what it is, though.
But that is how you
love the old school effect of it.
Yeah,
but
that is. I mean,
it's interesting you bring that up because Tom Brady just said, like on the last week that the game is
Tom
media.
Brady should shut up. What is he talking
Listen, let me ask my question.
All right, go ahead.
Good night.
I'm anxious to hear what Bernie thinks about it because it was a controversial statement.
He said that the game is mediocre. He said that the development of young players and coaching is not the same. Do you feel that same way about today's NFL?
Careful, you're next to Bull.
Yeah, no, you know what? The game and the coaching has to have changed because, again, I'm in a healing part of it here, late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life. Some of the most religious, ethical people off the football field, their mantra was, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Mm-hmm. You know, they were teaching you things that you just don't even want to say on air. They were teaching you things that you had to do on the field. So you had to do them to survive, to stay alive, especially as a slow QB out there. So there is kind of a balance to, coaching. Again, I could think of 34 Wham that I would absolutely start the game with against Aaron Donald, okay? 34 Wham, and I'd
send a message.
Send a message and make them think the whole game. You know, I'm not trying to hurt them on purpose, but I am trying to get them out of that game, and I don't want them hurting me all game, and I don't want them killing our guys. So that is the mental side. So it is tough now to tell a guys to do that.
So that withstanding, because I don't know that that's what Tom Brady was talking about.
No.
Tom Brady's statement in a vacuum, did you think that there was something to that he's more right than wrong? Because a lot of veterans have come out and said Tom Brady's exactly right, but a lot of the younger players are shut up.
Well, if I was the younger players, I would be disagreeing with Tom, and I would be telling him to be quiet.
Alex Smith, by the way, a veteran,
is one of the veterans that
said he had the easiest competition in the AFC East, which is true.
Yeah, but he still had to get through the juggernaut to win the Super Bowl.
But he always had home field advantage.
You can't discount.
He always had home field advantage because the AFC East stunk.
He did, but I thought that was a cheap shot because you can't take away his Super Bowls.
Well, it's a cheap shot to dismiss the NFL now when he just retired last year.
I don't know that he was. It came off as a cheap shot. I would agree. I don't think that's the way he intended it. Yeah. But in a vacuum, is there anything to it?
No, but it's the
coaching and playing.
Well, to me, it's super harder on the coaches, and it's super harder on the players. I mean, why am I sitting here beating my chest and a disciple of Marty Schottenheimer and Marty Ball now when I was the biggest critic of the Marty Ball and the running at the time, and I apologize, bro.
Well, with age comes wisdom.
Yeah, well, not even wisdom and age. The game's changed. So you're not allowed to do inside drill. You're not allowed to practice tackling. You're not allowed to hit all the time. So in turn, you're making physical mistakes like tackling.
That's fair.
So in turn, to me, it's you get 3 downs to make 10 yards, and you're averaging 5 to 7 yards of running play. Well, by math, that's 15 yards.
Analytics say keep doing it.
Just do that every time until they stop. So, I kind of fall into that line of thinking now, and that is pretty prehistoric from that perspective. But is it the coach's fault? Because I like the young players. All of us older guys are cognitively declined, hurting / dead. So I don't want to see those young guys have to do what it takes, hitting and practicing.
So it's a good trade-off.
Yeah. I see some of the trade-off.
If technique comes down a little bit, but guys live longer and have better quality of life later, it's fine. Yeah, nobody's complaining that the product is bad right now.
And no disrespect to Aaron Donald, but you got to think about it. Back then, I always tell people, you don't know how much you let people off the hook when you don't run the ball. I'm a D lineman. I don't want to touch you the whole game. That's demoralizing. Aaron Donald is probably, 280, right?
Yeah.
280? Do you know what type of run game the Washington Redskins and the Hogs? Do you understand what kind of game plan they was in?
It's death by a million cuts.
Your legs and knees would have been targeted all day.
He in the Lighter Foundation. They'd have run him up out of there.
I mean, there's a price to pay for getting sacks. The next thing you know, you want to be upfield? here's that delayed draw. You want to be upfield? Here comes the trap play.
Yeah, and here comes Kevin Mack and Leroy, okay, with big chips, big chips, okay, like where you're allowed, back in the old days, there was no such thing as a defenseless person. Matter of fact, that's your fault if your head's
your head
not
on a
on the
swivel back
swivel.
then.
Right, it's
Yeah.
your fault back then.
I know